Right, Trevor, my name's Morgan. I've now watched the film 5 times, 4 of them being in the cinema. And one of my questions is, I was researching with the film, Kneecap, and I discovered a report that local unionist councillors had found out about your team filming in the woods nearby, which resulted in the cancellation of filming in the woods. Was there any communication with the councillors, and what did you do to get around this roadblock? Or is it even true, for a start?
Well, it's a good question, Morgan, and just that very incident came to mind. There was just answering your colleague's question. Yes, what happened there was that there are woodlands around Belfast that are owned by Belfast City Council, some are owned by the National Trust, and we had identified a particular woodland that we wanted to shoot. Do you know the opening scene where there's the rave in the forest and they're getting chased by the cops? So we wanted to chase that scene, shoot that scene, and you know, you just don't turn up on the day to shoot a scene like that. It takes a huge amount of planning. It goes back weeks, if not months. So I do remember, I think it was just before Christmas 2022, when we were doing all the recce's about all the locations that we wanted to use, and that we rented that forest. But when the location manager went to get the green light, the agreement, we were refused access to the forest, and there was some indication that it was due to the fact that it was an Irish language film. I don't think they said it was about Kneecap, but they must have known it was the film was called Kneecap. But they said basically, no, we're not allowing any productions into the forest at this time. And we were a little suspicious about that, let's say.
Sorry, Trevor. I forgot to mention my name is Jason. As the Kneecap was about helping people get into the Irish language, do you think this film actually helps with that message as well, to help people get into the Irish language in Northern Ireland, like the band was trying?
Well, totally. You know, as I said, when we set up our production company in 2006, very quickly we realised that if you really want to deal with public purpose, public service, programming or filmmaking, you've got to reach right across the cultural spectrum here in the north of Ireland, and that is Irish language is and should be a cultural pole star, as I said in a speech last week. That is our cultural pole star. The language is what Kneecap is all about. It's what the film is all about. It's about the protection of Indigenous languages. And that is true here, but it's also true across the world. When we took the film to Australia, it was as equally important to them there because of their Indigenous languages and how it just so happened as a result of colonisation that their language had been destroyed and almost killed off, just the same as the Irish language here in Ireland had been. So the language is what the film is about. The language, the protection, the creativity that comes in the Irish language. That's what Kneecap is about, and that's what the film is about. And, you know, I think that there's been many memories this year of that the film has given us. But I think one of the most proud moments when I saw a picture in Mumbai in India just a few months ago, where there was a queue around the block to get in to see Kneecap. In Mumbai, in India, they were queuing around the block to see Kneecap. So I think given India's history with the British, it's quite clear that they also appreciate a song called Get Your Brits Out. So, you know, there seems to be something about that the film touches a raw nerve about language and about the protection and about the way that this generation, your generation, is is helping to protect that language. And I think that is vitally important, not only to the present, but also to the future.
So, was there any budget issues? Like, what's the budget? Because you said like there's like 100 people every day working on set. Was there like any budget issues with it, or did you have to cut short anything?
There are budget issues with every single thing that we ever do, and Kneecap was no different. And I think that what happened was, when we originally drew up the budget for the film, it probably was a budget that was relevant for pre-COVID. But after COVID, costs went up through the roof. And when we started the film, we very quickly realized we were going to run out of money. So, you know, I always remember the night we filmed Michael Fassbender in the scene where he comes into the big gig that the boys are playing and the dissidents are there and all of that. We filmed that in the Belfast Telegraph building. About halfway through the 6-week shoot. And my memory of that night was the realization that we weren't going to have enough money to finish the film. And then and what we were going to have to do. So we had to raise a huge amount of more money, but we were very lucky. We were very what's the word? We were very lucky to have some great funders on the island of Ireland and in fact in Britain in the BFI, and all of them came to support the film and give us more money simply because, and it's really only because of one thing, and that's because the film was looking so great. They were looking at the dailies, the rushes every day. They could see the performance of the boys. They could see Michael Fassbender. They could see all the support cast. They could see how everyone was really performing brilliantly. And so they, thank God for me that I didn't go bankrupt. But thank God that they gave us more money and allowed us to finish the film.
And Trevor, whenever you met Kneecap to discuss the film, was there any scenes that they demanded to be in the film?
Was there any things being demanded?
Like, was there any scenes that the boys from Kneecap demanded to be in the film?
No, there wasn't. There were, Kneecap. I have to say, Kneecap were understandably cautious. They were kind of going, do you really know what you're talking about? Does this writer-director, does he know what he's doing? How's this all going to work? But actually, by the time that they got to know the writer, Rich Bepiat, and they spent a huge amount of time together, there were no demands, there were no must-haves, must-dos, none of that. Kneecap came in a very open mind. They let Rich do his job, they did their job. They turned up every morning on time. They knew their lines. They worked very hard. They shot every scene. And they come back the next morning and did the same all over again. That's not easy doing that. It's very, very, very difficult. Very challenging. This isn't a film that just was put together on a whim with Kneecap turning up and deciding to do whatever they want. It was hugely scripted, storyboarded, organised, financed. It was planned to the nth degree. And Kneecap, despite what you see on screen, despite what you see on stage, are very organised, disciplined individuals who are very creative individuals as well. So, they were absolute pleasure to work with, and I love them all dearly. They're very good friends of mine, they're very good friends of my family, of my kids, and they've grown to become part of our family. And simply because I have a huge respect for them, for everything they do, I have a huge respect for them. I think they are a breath of fresh air. I think that they are speaking for a generation, they're speaking for your generation, and they're saying very important things. And I think that that's what we need to do in a world that is fake and full of fakery and full of, what's real and what's not real. Kneecap are real, And when it came to the film, it came to the plots, it came to the storylines, they were absolutely 100% behind everything we wanted to do, everything we wanted to achieve, and they made no demands, made absolutely, but no demands on us, the producers or the writers.
So, was there any creative disagreements, you know, and like how did you handle them in general? Because you know,
Of course it was.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. How did you handle them?
Well, you know, of course it is. And you don't make a film like this that is stretching everybody to the very limits. The producers, the DOP, the art department, the costume department, you know, everyone is being stretched to the very limit. You know, you work 12 or 14-hour days for 7 weeks or 8 weeks solid. You know, you're going to have a stopping point. And everybody is operating at the higher limits of their abilities and pushing themselves beyond their abilities, because that's what a film like this demands. You're not going to make a great film by turning up late and going home early and letting somebody else worry about it. You're making a great film like this because you are pushing everyone. You know, go harder, go further, say more contentious things, say more controversial things, all within a limit of creativity and within certain
Boundaries.
laws, but boundaries, exactly, that was the word I was looking for. Yeah, but you know, of course there was. And part of my job as a producer is to find where the challenges are, where the heads are being butted, and try to work out solutions that protects the integrity of the creative vision that the writer and director has, but also makes it pragmatic and possible for all the other departments to be able to work and realize his vision. So, you know, I get into my car outside here every morning and thinking there was a crisis. And by the time we got to set in West Belfast, there was a far greater crisis. And, you know, I did that every single day. But, you know, that's the world I live in. And, you know, it's the quality of the film, the quality of the performance, the quality of the writing, the quality of the editing is all to be seen. And in fact, be appreciated around the world right now.
Yep.
As we're all, we're all making our films now. Do you have any like further advice to give us as we're making our films for our course? As for like producers, directors,
Yeah.
and storyboardings? Any more like advice?
Yeah. And is it all fact or fiction, documentary, narrative?
It's gonna be fiction, the first one, and we're gonna make another documentary.
And then documentary afterwards.
Right, okay. Well, listen, I think that it's, first and foremost, you've got to know what story you're going to tell. What is the story you want to tell and why? Second of all, you're going to have the fundamentals, a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the beginning and end on any film are the most important parts of the film. You've got to compel your audience to view it, and you've got to repay their investment, the time that they're going to spend watching your film. At the end, you want them to walk away going, that was worthwhile, I'm glad I did that, I got something out of that. I loved it, I laughed, I cried, I had some sort of emotional reaction to it. So think about the fundamentals. You know, what is the story, why am I telling this? And what is the beginning, what is the beginning, what is the end? And I think that you've got to tell your story. You've got to tell of your life experience. You've got, whether you're making a zombie film or investigative documentary, it's got to have purpose and meaning. And also, at your point of your careers, as you start out in your careers, it's about being creative. It's about challenging yourself to go further, to go harder, to go into areas that you didn't expect to be in. You know, push the boundaries. You really have to push the boundaries, because that's where you'll find yourself. That's what you'll find what is important to you. You'll find your own style, your own vision, your own, what it is that you enjoy most. And all of you will end up in a different area of the industry, hopefully. You know, we aren't all writers and directors, producers, costume designers, art directors, camera, edit. It's all, as my friend says, filmmaking is the last collaborative art. It's the last form of truly collaborative art. Kneecap only came about because of a collaboration of an incredible amount of very talented people. So you've got to learn how to collaborate. It isn't a solo process. It is a collaborative process. You know, you're all going to have to understand what it's like to work with each other and how to find compromise without compromising the vision of the film. How to make things work to achieve your goals and achieve on screen what you're setting out to achieve. So I think it's very important to understand and appreciate the importance of collaboration. But I also think that, you know, you've got to have something in here to go, this is the fucking reason I want to do this. This is why I'm going to spend night and bloody day. It's going to kill me to do this, but I'm going to be able to say, this is what I set out to achieve, and this is what I've done. And just hope then that audiences agree that it's been worth your while.
Hopefully. So, another question. So it was like the process of assembling the crew. How do you meet like the cinematographer, the director, and how did you like, you know, assemble the whole crew?
How do we put the whole team together?
Yeah.
Well, it's a huge three-dimensional jigsaw. Okay, because if I said I was going to shoot a new film in February and I wanted you to be my DOP, to be the director of photography, you might say, yeah, I'd love to do this. I've read this script. I'm up for doing this. But by the time it comes around to February, you may have had another offer. And you've had to go off and commit to a job that you said you'd do 6 months previously. So in some regards, it's like when you get your shoot dates, you say, right, okay, this is when cast availability is. This is when Michael Fassbender's available. This is when Kneecap's available. This is when all the other casts are available. You look at that period of time and go, right, who else is available then? Who's not off doing Blue Lights or Line of Duty or some other film? Who else is available? That's a very pragmatic process. And in some regards, that governs the process. However, if you want to be the director of photography at Kneecap, nothing's going to stop you doing it. If you love the director, you love the script, you're going to pass at every other job to make sure that you do this film. And that's what we found. People were coming at us saying, please, 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 I want to work on your film. And we had to then try to work out who's best and who. And to be honest, some worked beautifully, others didn't. And that's just the way of the world. Some heads of departments were absolutely fantastic. Well, all our heads of department were absolutely fantastic, absolutely fabulous. But it's a very, very, very demanding job. It's a very demanding profession that you're going into. And you've got to love it. First and foremost, you've got to love it. Don't do it if it doesn't get you out of bed in the morning. If you think this is hard work and it's not for me, get out of it. because it's only a passion that's going to keep you going. It's not going to be the money, although, you know, the money should be good. It's not going to be the money, it's going to be a passion. It's going to be, I want to do this because I love it. And, you know, it's got to be that, it's got to have that appeal for you. And if it does, you'll never work a day in your life. Because you'll love getting up in the morning, it'll not feel like work.
Yeah.
Well, Trevor, I think our meeting's it says scheduled to end in about 3 minutes, 4 minutes. So maybe is there, just wrap it up. We have one more question from anybody.
Was there any technical difficulties when making Kneecap?
Any
Technical difficulties?
let me think now, I'm sure there was technical difficulties. Yeah, well, I could think of one that was really challenging. Go back to that scene where Michael Fassbender walks into the concert. Do you know that scene?
Yeah.
So there were two scenes in which we had cranes, and that scene to work, the camera, Michael Fassbender was walking towards the camera, like that, and the camera was following him. But then the DOP had to clip the camera onto a jib arm, which then rose up above the audience, right? So that was like very technically challenging to get that round and up, and it's like a magnet. The camera clips onto the side of the jib and then goes up. So it has to be all in one very smooth movement, and that took a lot of work, but worked. There was then a technical challenge where, do you know the scene where the dissidents are coming in into the flat and they jump out onto the balcony to get round to the other flat to get away from them? We hired this huge crane from Dublin with the big reach of an arm. And what we wanted to do is follow them out of one room, out onto the balcony and go into the other. And the crane was kind of sitting at an angle. And the angle was about 3 degrees off where we had thought it would be. And the jib couldn't reach. So having brought this crane all the way from Dublin, having set up this shot, we ultimately couldn't get it on the day. Now we got the shot, but just as well as up to 3 degrees. And you know, that to be honest, I haven't talked about that in years, but that caused such consternation. That caused so many difficulties for the team involved. Those 3 degrees, they were so pissed off that just the miscalculation had caused that they couldn't get the shot. And that's because, again, they were working at the very, very edge of their technical abilities. And that's what the director and the film was doing. And they were but that was hugely frustrating for them. But listen, none of us missed that shot. I don't think it changed anything. But in their minds, there was a miss.
Well, thanks so much, Trevor. And just in case the call ends, thanks so much. That's really insightful, and you know, thanks so much. That's fantastic for taking your time out. Can I just ask one question? Is it true that it's going to be Kneecap 2?
No, it's not true.
Okay, right, okay.
Maybe Trevor, maybe.
Right, definitely not.
But let me say, that's not because, that is simply not because of the writer doesn't want a Kneecap 2 or Kneecap don't want a Kneecap 2. But the fact is that Kneecap, I saw them in London on Thursday night. They're on a tour. They've got to go to Australia. They've got to do a second album. They've got to tour that second album. And, you know, their next 18 months is damned in their lives. The writer is off writing a new script for a new film. He's got another film to write next year. You know, there will be a Kneecap 2, right? It's just, when there is that 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? I don't know. There'll be a train spotting took 20 years.
Thanks so much again, Trevor. That's fantastic. Really appreciate it. And the students give you
Thank you, Trevor.
a round of applause then.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks so much, Trevor. Appreciate it. Thanks very much. Take care. Thanks. Cheers.
Glad to go.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
And you go.